A very good afternoon to all the learners and welcome to the YuktMind's initiative of 10 minutes and newspaper done. This is 27th April and we are ready with the gist of today's news to make your preparation simpler. You can download the PDF of this video from our Telegram channel or website. First news, Maoist attack in Dantewada of Chhattisgarh. 10 security personnel returning from a counter-insurgency operation and a civilian driver were killed when the vehicle they were travelling in was blown up by Maoists in Chhattisgarh's Dantewada. You need to remember a few government initiatives to fight left-wing extremism. Some examples are Samadhan program, aspirational district programs, also like providing CAPF, sanction of India Reserve battalions, setting up of counter-insurgency and anti-terrorism schools, modernization and upgradation of the state police and their intelligence apparatus, reimbursement of security-related expenditure under the SRE scheme, providing helicopters for anti-left-wing extremism operations, etc. You can write it down or I will provide it in the PDF itself. Second news, Supreme Court modifies order on ecosensitive zone around protected forest. On June 3, 2022, last year, the Apex Court had ordered the 1 kilometer buffer zone for protected areas to act as a shock absorber. However, the center and several states had returned to the Apex Court seeking modification of the June 2022 judgment, saying the judicial direction affected hundreds of villages in the peripheries of forests. Now, you should know what are eco-sensitive zones. They are areas around protected areas like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, etc. These concepts are created to support the idea of sustainable development. So, the modified stand of the Supreme Court is, if the direction as issued is continued, it would certainly hamper the day-to-day activities of the citizens residing in eco-sensitive zones. The court said a stringent observance of the June 2022 judgment would cause more harm than good. For one, man-animal conflict would only increase rather than abate. The Supreme Court reasoned that eco-sensitive zones cannot be uniform across the country and has to be protected area specific. The court, however, made it clear that mining within the national park and wildlife sanctuary and within an area of 1 kilometer from the boundary of such national park and wildlife sanctuary shall not be permissible. Third news, the Karnataka High Court has evolved triple tests for couple facing hurdles to have child through altruistic surrogacy. Now, what is altruistic surrogacy? In this surrogacy, surrogates doesn't receive any kind of monetary compensation and is mostly done by a close relative. Indian surrogacy laws 2021 has made stringent criteria to control the wrongdoings around the surrogacy. First criteria, couple married for 5 years, wife 25 to 50, husband 26 to 55 years of age. Couple must not have a living child, whether biological, adopted or surrogate. Only exception is a child with physical disability. Proven infertility of either partner certified by district medical board. They have to provide 16 months of insurance coverage for the surrogate mother to deal with postpartum issues. Surrogate mother has to be a close relative of the couple, a married woman with a child of her own, and aged between 25 to 35 years. Now, these are the criteria of the Act 2021. And it also prohibits men over 55 years to have child through surrogacy. Therefore, High Court evolved triple test, which is genetic, physical, and economic test. Various issues with the Act are before the Supreme Court. Fourth news, virtual digital assets and India's stand. It's actually an opinion article where writer has given an interesting example of rulemaking in case of emerging technologies. He has mentioned an age-old infamous Red Flag Act, which the United Kingdom introduced at the advent of motor cars. It mandated that every motor car had to have 3 drivers, one at the wheel, the second a fellow passenger, and the third on foot, holding a red flag to alert oncoming horse-drawn carriages that a motor car is coming. In today's day and age, you cannot imagine moving with such regulations. Ostensibly established in the interest of safety, the Act only ended up strengthening the motor car industry elsewhere in Europe, and United Kingdom's motor cars segment was becoming weaker. It was ultimately repealed in 1896, clearing the path for the golden era of the British motor car industry and icons such as the Rolls-Royce. Similarly, in today's era, there are calls for regulation of artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies. On March 7, the GOI, Government of India, extended virtual digital assets businesses and service providers under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002. This means Virtual digital asset platforms carrying out such activities will now have to register as a reporting entity with the Financial Intelligence Unit India. The unit is the national agency to strengthen India's efforts against money laundering and terror financing. This is showing the fact that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology are more secretive and less transparent in nature. And that's why they are trying to regulate it. The finance track of the G20 is spearheading critical discussions on establishing a global regulatory framework for virtual digital assets. Now, the regulation world over, in Asia, Japan and South Korea have established a framework to license virtual asset service providers. While in Europe, the markets in crypto asset regulation has been passed by the European Parliament. The MiCA regulation has been covered in detail on 24th April. You can go and visit and learn it. Fifth news, the third generation web is about public good. According to a 2021 report by the US India Strategic Partnership Forum, the third generation web will be crucial for India to realize its $1.1 trillion digital asset opportunity by 2032. Web 3 and Web 3.0, the difference. Some experts term the third gen web as Web 3, while others use the descriptor Web 3.0. Web 3 is decentralized, privacy oriented, blockchain driven, and crypto asset friendly, while Web 3.0 is powered by artificial intelligence. Web 3.0 has the ability to recombine information available on different websites to generate new content and knowledge resources that are more authentic and creative. It is claimed that Web 3.0 is endowed with robust capability on the data analytics front. Web 3. It seeks to radically transform the manner in which data is generated, monetized, shared, and circulated. It advocates decentralized data storage system with the objective of unshackling the oligopolistic grip of technology behemoths over data, like Facebook, Microsoft, Google, etc. Web3 has file sharing systems such as interplanetary file system, which are cryptographically protected, more secure, and capable of functioning off internet and off blockchains. In this manner, Web3 seeks to overcome the data storage barriers of blockchains. It seeks to create a distributed economic system where special classes of native digital tokens and cryptocurrencies would form the media of monetary circulation. Web3 systems also seeks to generate fungible digital assets to reward local providers of data storage capacity for the services. India can benefit in following ways. India's handicraft industry is renowned for design-related innovation, many of which are not protected by intellectual property rights. The digital tokens minted by Web3 platforms would enable our handicraft enterprises to secure their innovations. India's major digital public infrastructure push and the large-scale deployment of Internet of Things in rural development projects offer major possibilities for deploying Web3 in rural areas. Example, the Atal Bhujal Yojana is an important source of data on groundwater utilization practices and aquifer contamination. Although this resource remains largely untapped for want of data analytics capabilities at the community level. The limitation can be overcome by Web3's decentralized analytics system. Web 3.0 can also yield insight from large volumes of community data generated by Internet of Things enabled development programs such as Jal Jeevan schemes. Sixth news, the distribution and utilization of water bodies in India. A document released by Ministry of Jal Shakti is the first such census of water bodies in India. The census has identified 24,540 water bodies in India. Water bodies in this census are defined as any natural man-made structures used for storing waters for various purposes. They are classified as tanks, reservoirs, and ponds. For this data project, a structure that collects water from melting ice, streams, springs, rain, or drainage from residential or other areas, or stores water diverted from a stream, nala, or river is also considered a water body. So the reports are ponds comprise 59.5% of water bodies, followed by tanks at 15.7%, reservoirs at 12.1%, water conservation projects such as percolation tanks and check dams at 9.3%, lakes at 0.9%, and other types at 2.5%. West Bengal boasts of the highest number of ponds and reservoirs, Andhra Pradesh the highest number of tanks, and Tamil Nadu the highest number of lakes. Maharashtra leads in number of water conservation initiatives. The majority of water bodies, such as resources for fish farming with the subsequent uses including irrigation, replenishing groundwater, and providing water for household and drinking needs. Among the total 20,30,040 utilized water bodies, 55.5% are dedicated to fish farming alone, 16.5% to irrigation, 12.1% to groundwater replenishment, and 10.1% to domestic and drinking water needs. The priority is given to the economic areas like fish and irrigation. The remaining are employed for recreational, industrial, religious, and other purposes. Since we are talking about water bodies, if you all know the number of Ramsar sites in India and which state has the highest number of Ramsar sites in India, please write in the comments below. Seventh news, the ambiguities in the nuclear liability law. Now, this law has been borne in the throat in the development of nuclear power projects in the country. The issues regarding India's nuclear liability law continue to hold up more than a decade-old plan to build 6 nuclear power reactors in Maharashtra's Jaitapur, the world's biggest nuclear power generation site under construction at present. India currently has 22 nuclear reactors with over a dozen more projects planned. All the existing reactors are operated by the state-owned Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited (NPCIL). International position is that clear laws on civil nuclear liability ensure that compensation is available to the victims for nuclear damage caused by a nuclear incident or disaster and set out who will be liable for those damages. The international nuclear liability regime consists of multiple treaties and was strengthened after the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear accident. The Umbrella Convention on Supplementary Compensation (CSC) was adopted in 1997 with the aim of establishing a minimum national compensation amount. The amount can further be increased through public funds to be made available by the contracting parties should the national amount be insufficient to compensate the damage caused by a nuclear incident. The law governing nuclear liability in India. Even though India was a signatory to the CSC, Parliament ratified the convention only in 2016. To keep in line with the international convention, India enacted the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act (CLNDA) in 2010 to put in place a speedy compensation mechanism for victims of a nuclear accident. This act provides for strict and no-fault liability on the operator of the nuclear plant, where it will be held liable for damage regardless of any fault on its part. It also specifies the amount the operator will have to shell out in case of damage caused by an accident at 1500 crore and requires the operator to cover liability through insurance or other financial security. In case the damage claims exceed 1500 crore, the CLNDA expects the government to step in and has limited the government liability amount to the rupee equivalent of 300 million special drawing rights or about 2100 to 2300 crore. The Act also specifies the limitation on the amount and time when action for compensation can be brought against the operator. Whereas the international legal framework on civil nuclear liability, including the annex of the CSC, is based on the central principle of exclusive liability of the operator of a nuclear installation and no other person. Section 10 of the annex of the CSC lays down only 2 conditions under which the national law of a country may provide the operator with the right of recourse, where they can extract liability from the supplier if it is expressly agreed upon in the contract, or if in the nuclear incident results from an act or omission done with the intent to cause damage. However, India has gone a step ahead of international agreements beyond these 2 conditions and introduced the concept of supplier liability over and above that of the operators in its civil nuclear liability law. So, apart from the contractual right of recourse or when intent to cause damage is established, CLNDA has Section 17B, which states that the operator of the nuclear plant, after paying their share of compensation for damage in accordance with the Act, shall have the right of recourse where the nuclear incident has resulted as a consequence of an act of supplier or his employee, which includes supply of equipment or material with patent or latent defects or substandard services. So the nuclear suppliers are very skeptical about our laws and their concerns are about getting exposed to unlimited liability under the CLNDA and ambiguity over how much insurance to set aside in case of damage claims have been sticking points for suppliers. The main issues for them are Section 17B and Section 46. Section 46 provides that nothing would prevent proceedings other than those which can be brought under the Act to be brought against the operator. And these are the reasons why the supplier liability clause has become the biggest issue in nuclear deals. And these are the reasons why the supplier liability clause has become the biggest issue in nuclear deals. And these are the reasons why the supplier liability clause has become the biggest issue in nuclear deals. And now 8th and the final news. Kenya cult death toll rises to 95 as government sets curfew. Pastor Paul Mackenzie, who was arrested for allegedly directing his followers to fast to death in order to meet Jesus. Now, this point can be used in essay or even ethics about how blindness in following a religion or a cult can be detrimental for a society. Thank you for watching. We are trying to provide you the best material through our website, Telegram, Instagram, and Twitter handles. Thank you.